Hi, in this video I will show you how to create a cheap post-processing fog which you can use even on low-end and mobile devices. Especially it can be useful in horror maps as we can control blend and how dense it is in the distance. Plus we can link it with Fortnite time of day and assign different fog colors. And before starting tutorial I would like to mention that if you're interested in source files from my videos, you can find them on my Patreon, link in the description of the video. And now let's begin. Okay, so I have pretty empty scene and I just added a few prefabs so we can just better test. Okay, so first of all, we need our post-processing volume, and depends how you will use it. If you don't know, so basically this one, it will work on all devices, high-end devices with DirectX 12, DirectX 11, basically mobiles, right? It will apply to all of them. But let's say at least like if you ever used lumen lighting, you know that it's very different than, for example, basic one. Yeah, so difference between DirectX 12 and DirectX 11, it's a big. So sometimes you want to use different this post-processing volumes. And how to do this? There are different ways, and simplest way is basically if you go to Fortnite devices, environment, and then you have this, wow, my icon's so big. Okay. There is this environment lighting rig. So if you will place it into the level, of course, everything is like blown out because it's not just only post-processing inside of it. There are the directional light, it's basically simulation of the sun, but you can disable this, then atmosphere as well, disable, then fog, disable, skylight, in here, effect world, none. And as you can see now it's getting better. It's still bright because now what we're left with is this lumen exposure and basic exposure. But actually what it is, it's a two post-processing volumes, and this device, it automatically detects when, like what device player using, and it then uses one or another. If I will scroll down, you can see now it's set to enable on the basic because I'm on medium, right? And lumen, it's set to enable disable. If I will set it to high, you see automatically my lumen now it's enabled and basic is disabled. So it's a pretty automatic system. So this allows you to create two post-processing volumes, adjust your settings for non-lumen, and then adjust settings for lumen, and you will have different light setups, yeah, for different devices. Super useful. We're personally using this device in our projects, and this works really well. So this is one way, or this one. So I will use, just for simplicity, just that volume. So let's just select this and delete. So I will use this post-processing volume because what I just need is input our post-processing material. So first thing, in priority, I usually like to put like large number, like 1000, just to be sure that it will be my main post-processing volume, because in a default Fortnite lighting, there is post-processing as well. And usually this one will override, but just in case, like to set like to priority higher. And then this one is super important. It's basically set it to unbound. What that means is basically you then don't need to scale up this cube to make it super, super huge to cover whole your map, because you can leave it as is and doesn't matter in what location. With unbound, it means it's infinite. It will affect everything. So with that in mind, we're good to go. Again, I'm not showing any post-processing like details like what you want to set up. You will do for your map as you like. But what most important is basically post-processing material. So we need just plus this, and you can add multiple materials as you can see, or you can combine a logic in one material as you like. So then we need this, and then we have input. If you don't know, if you, for example, don't want some of the materials to work, you actually don't need to delete it. Maybe you want to keep it, but you don't know how to keep it. You basically just set it to 0 and it will disable effect of the material. So 1, it's enabled, 0 is disabled. Okay, so now we need to create material and input it here. So let's go back to my folder. So PP fork is basically post-processing fork. So let's create material and it will be PP. So for post-processing again, an M material. And straight away, I will create material instance. Like that. While this selected, I can click on this arrow and basically it inputs whatever is selected. And it's, of course, if it's available. So if that would be something else, it wouldn't work. Okay, let's open material. And first thing what we need to do is post-processing in here. And pretty much that's it. So then we can do our logic. And it's super simple logic. That's why it's really cheap material to work on all devices. So let's first get scene texture. This is scene texture. If you never saw my previous tutorials about post-processing, it's basically like engine renders everything in the buffer. So it renders many things. And then it combines everything and it displays, like rasterized and displays from our 2D screen because we have 3D world, yeah, and to display on the 2D screen. But then just before displaying that, this is where our post-processing comes. We can then grab these buffers, we can do some stuff, and then output to this, yeah, and this will go to screen. And to get all these buffers, you can see all this cool stuff. Some stuff will work and some not on the mobile devices and low-end devices. Keep in mind, usually material will show error that like warning about that. And then if you want to get a pure render without any modification, this is your post-processing input 0. If I, for example, connect it into emissive and save, you look into scene, nothing is changed. This is because this is pure render, what's already rendered and without any modification. For example, if I would add color blend, any color will work. Just to quickly show, and if I will connect it now like this, oh yeah, it basically shows me error because I haven't paid attention. So on the bottom, it says, you see, it can't do operations between float 3 and float 4. It's basically vector 3, vector 4. Because actually this one, it gives us RGBA and color it's on only RGB. And fix it super simple. We just need to use mask, component mask, because to display our scene, we don't need actually alpha. We just need RGB. So in the mask, we're selecting RGB, but not, of course, alpha. So we're making it float free. Then if we save and look here, now we have all this tint. Now we're modifying our render. Okay, so we don't need multiply here and we can keep color. So now what I will do, I will use lerp. And okay, let's for now use just this color. Maybe set it to something gray. And okay, we need mask and we need depth. So basically, we know that close to the camera, we want clear view. And then further away it goes like more into this color and then it becomes opaque and like basically player don't see anything at the back. And for that, usually we used depth fade, which was like really great. And I will show you a problem can appear on high-end devices. So usually I like to use saturate just to be sure that this is between 0 and 1. I think like with this one, it's already outputs black and white mask, so it's 0 and 1. And then opacity, this is what far away should be. Should we see like background at least a little bit, or it should be totally opaque color? Yeah, this one. So we can set for opacity, let's set it for now to 1. And then fade distance is like how far from the camera it basically starts. So fade, let's say maybe start. And instead of 100, it should be something like 3000, 1000, something like that. Otherwise, it would be too close. But anyways, that would be our material. That would be pretty easy. But now I will show you problem. Let's remove that window and look my problem. Let's put it on a full screen. There we go. And what you see is basically our anti-aliasing affecting our buffer. So you can see that fog is actually working pretty well, but it's not working on a large part of the screen. Why is that? Because if you look here, we have this anti-aliasing TSR. It's on high-end devices, maybe even like on mid-end device. I don't know. So this is like a few years already, released by Epic. I don't remember full name. It's like temporal super resolutions or super sampling rendering, something like that. Basically, what it does, like when you have, can I lower that? Still looks good, even on low. But basically, what anti-aliasing does, if you don't know, if it softens edges, like smoothed edges. Otherwise, they look like a jagged if you don't have any anti-aliasing, especially when you have really large contrast between colors. For example, like black and white, yeah, or bright green and something like gray, right? Then you will have this kind of like a noise always like moving. And actually, you can see this thing a little bit. Yeah, now you can see it maybe in a video. Hopefully you will see. It's like even like blinking like that. So this is one of the type of visual noise. And anti-aliasing, it actually helps to solve that problem. But this TSR, as I said, like it's quite new thing. Before we had different approaches. Weren't like so perfect, but this one is really good for high-end devices when, for example, you have like, let's say 4K monitor. So then you have lots and lots of pixels. And to process all this, it's more costly on your computer, like to render. So what TSR does, and it's actually what DLSS, NVDS does. Basically, it renders much lower resolution. In game settings, you can set, it's basically called 3D resolution or something like that. It's basically percentage. Like you can render 50% of your screen, right? 75, depends. But then when it goes like too low, it's like, then it's bad. But basically it renders a small portion of the screen, like not a portion of the screen. It renders full screen, but it renders in a lower resolution for, let's say, like full HD instead of 4K. So it's 4 times less pixels. And then when it's done, it then with algorithms, it adds these pixels back. So then on the 4K, you don't see any difference, but it's much cheaper than to render. That's why like with all these new tech, like computers can run like an 8K, even monitors really easily with lots and lots of details on them. But problem with our fade now that while it renders, it affects our fade, this depth fade, and it's not working. And what was really simple solution, now it's basically broken solution. What we can do now, instead of using depth fade, we can copy this one. And by the way, as I remember, you can select any red node, like with scene texture, and you can see there is a filter. You can try use it. If you won't have any issues, you shouldn't have any issues. And basically, you can even see that my sphere not blinking anymore on the edges. This is basically like some kind of anti-aliasing, like filtering for this post-processing masks. And it helps to basically improve quality. So same I will do for this one. And if I will look inside in here, there is scene depth. And when I tried it, and it's actually working with this anti-aliasing. So we will use this one. So we can use that. Then we will mask. I just need black and white. I will use red channel. Then I will divide it because this scene depth is a huge number. It goes like to your horizons far, far away. So that's why instead of working with really huge numbers, I will divide it by 1000. And then I will multiply it with parameter. And this parameter, it will be my control, this offset from the camera to bring up and back. I can actually use this one, fade start, I have already. And now because I'm dividing by 1000, it will be like much smaller number in here. And if I will preview it like that, you can see how it looks. Here we go. And let's open material instance. And you can see how I can control it. So basically where is white, it will be our fog. And where is black, it will be our normal image. And it looks pretty cool. And as you can see, it's not linear. Yeah, so it's not like sharp transition. It's really smooth transition. So that's why it's super useful for our fog because it looks really realistic for that. Okay, so that's fine. And what I want to add, it's basically this transition. So you see that now it's pretty cool. So I have this dance and then we have this transition, but then how long this transition, yeah, between when I have my black and white, I don't have any control of that. So we can add smooth step in here. And from smooth step into saturation, and then into this mask and into here, like that. Now I can actually remove this, and then I need just, maybe let's call it fog length. Yeah, length, fine. Length minimum, then fog length maximum. I will set default values 0 and 1. And let's preview it. Look at these buildings. Okay. So now you can see that I can even make it like super sharp, as I said, like really not realistic. Yeah, like that. But basically I have control of that. And as always, if you're not sure, closer I am with max and minimum to each other, sharper is basically everything is. So for example, if I'll put 0.99, it's now super sharp. But now, okay, so this is where it starts. So I can make it maybe 2 in there. Yep. With my max and minimum, I can bring it even to minus something, minus 0.6, something like this. So now you can see like it's really starts softly, but then at the end, it's like really, really dense. Pretty cool. And I can still control how close it should be, maybe like this, right? Nice. Maybe minus 0.7, and this maybe a little bit closer, 1.8. 0.6, something like this. Cool. Okay, we're pretty much done. But then, okay, if I will set this color, and then let's say it's morning, just for example. And yeah, here in the ground, on the ground, you may see, you can see like it's basically dark, then gets like, yeah, there is purple, right? And we don't see that purple because it's always green and it's a little bit boring, right? Then, for example, here it's like a little bit yellowish white. Then on a sunset, it should be orange. Then again, like almost black. And it's not cool. So let's modify that. So we have this color. Let's disconnect it. And there are, if we search for color time of day, we have this beautiful node, which gives us option to input 4 colors for different time of the day. So we can connect it there like this. And even if we will preview that, you can see that it's actually picks now sunlight. And I will change color. Look, it perfectly works with all that tint we have, yeah, in our sky. So it's perfect blend with our sky. Now, if you don't want these colors, you can overwrite your own colors. Just for example, I will add this one for, let's say, day, and I will set it to this color, green color, right? Just to show that we can mix with our color, and you can input 4 colors, so it will be for your custom colors. You see, when it's day, it's a green now. Pretty cool. Unfortunately, there is cool another color. It's called curve color. If you don't see it here, you can select all and then search for color. There it is, curve color time of day. It looks like this, and if you will even hover over that, it says like it's more accurate than this. But unfortunately, this will throw validation error, so we can't use it yet. Hopefully, in the future, we can. Yeah, so for now, this one will do. So then, yes, when we're using it, our fog like maybe like too bright for the fog. So let's add control for that. This will be our intensity. Or fog in for color intensity. So by default, I will set it to 1. Yay. Now we have that, and we can lower it. Now again, gets a sky color, but it's not so bright. Even we can make it darker. And now, for example, if we're changing there, it looks pretty good. And at night, for example, at night, maybe like it's too bright. Yeah, Fortnite nights, whoa, red, dangerous. This is really cool for all these Walking Dead, right? Maps. So maybe make it 0.3. And as we can see that, again, maybe you find with this color, like just pretty bright for the night. So maybe for the night, I will set it custom. Make it, it's like bluish, but then almost dark. Like that. Oh, maybe too dark. It's better. Yeah, so you can tweak that. Okay. And that's it. So let's close that. Now we can preview. So this is on, let's put it daytime, something like that, morning. So for example, if somewhere here, pretty cool. So this is on high, and then for example, medium, you can see not much changes. And this is DirectX 12. So this is now in DirectX 11. Let's compile shaders. Okay, and again on the high. Now we can jump faster between, and as you can see, not much difference, especially like fog works perfectly fine. Cool. So I hope you will use this in your horror games, because it's super useful, especially on the mobile devices. It's much better to use than, for example, Niagara VFX. It's cheaper. And yeah, and again, if you're interested in my source files, so all source files from my videos you can find on my Patreon, and link in the description of the video. Have fun. I would like to say thank you to my all supporters. I appreciate your support. Thank you for your generosity. You can get project files on my Patreon or just buy me a coffee to support me. If you're interested in learning more about UEFN materials, coding, widget UI, and more, you can join our growing Discord community, where we like to discuss UEFN tips and tricks, showcase our work, and help each other. You can find link in the description or in the channel header.